Hey guys, welcome back to BCMN Bracketology. It has been a long time, but this is our bracket for the 2023 March Madness year. We are so excited to give this to you. If you guys are excited about it too, please comment down below what you guys think of our bracket. Please drop a like and maybe drop a sub. Thank you so much. So starting it off, we got SEC champions Alabama. They're going to steamroll their way through either of these two teams.
Next, we got West Virginia versus Maryland. Maryland is not the best road team. Also, they're on a very cold streak of losses. Yes, they beat Minnesota this month, but that was their only win. West Virginia has been on a tear, especially on the road. They've been close or have won the last couple ones. We're going to take West Virginia.
Next, we got San Diego State and Charleston. Charleston is one of those teams that could absolutely make a Cinderella run this tournament. And I really wish they got paired against a different 5 seed because everything that Charleston does good. They're a great three-point shooting team. They're really efficient. They don't turn the ball over. They are not just good at matching up against San Diego State. San Diego State matches up against them perfectly. They defend the three very well. They're defensively, they're sound. They also don't turn the ball over, and I think San Diego State's going to be able to outlast Charleston in this one.
Next, we got Virginia versus Furman. It's the first time Furman has been in the tournament in 43 years, and they are not going down without a fight. Virginia is known to get out in the first round, but I'm not just going to take Furman because of that. Virginia has not been able to score the ball in the last 4 weeks, and Furman is on a tear, dropping 82 points a game. We're going to take Furman.
Next, we got Creighton and NC State. Creighton kind of got destroyed in that Big East tournament, but they're coming back. They're coming back angry. They got big players. They got size, and I don't think NC State's going to be able to keep up with them.
Next, we got Baylor versus UCSB. I do love UCSB. They're a great three-point shooting team, but they're just not good enough to outlast Keontae George and Baylor.
Next, we got Missouri and Utah State. Utah State's an okay team. Honestly, I'm not too high on the Mountain West teams this year, except for San Diego State. In the past 4 years, not a single team from the Mountain West has actually won a game in the tournament, and for that reason, I'm just going to take Missouri.
Next, we got Arizona versus Princeton. Congratulations, Princeton. You got to win the Ivy League. Sadly, you're going to go down in the first round.
Although I will be cheering for Princeton. Hopefully they win. Next, we got Alabama, West Virginia. Alabama, that's a pretty straightforward pick.
Next, we got San Diego State versus Furman. I think, sadly, Furman's run comes to an end. They can get hot for 1 game, but I don't know about 2, especially with a great defensive team like San Diego State. With a really hard schedule in the past, I think they're going to easily beat Furman.
So next we got Creighton and Baylor, both very solid teams. Now here's the thing with Baylor. Baylor is a top 10 offensive team. On KenPom, though, they are outside the top 100 teams in defense. And time again in March, what we've seen is teams that can't defend are not going to make it very far. If you're outside the top 100, you have never made it to the Sweet 16 as a team. And that's why I'm going to say Creighton's going to pull off this upset.
Next, we got Mizzou versus Arizona. One thing I want to say about this matchup, Missouri cannot rebound. How are you going to win a game against an athletic team that crashes the boards when you can't get a rebound? It's not going to happen. Arizona's going to win.
So next we got Alabama, San Diego State. San Diego State, great team, really good defensively. They just don't have the firepower to keep up with Alabama. A great three-point shooting team, a great defensive team. They play the ball fast. They're not going to be able to keep up, so Alabama's going to win this one pretty easily.
Next, we got Creighton versus Arizona. Probably my favorite matchup. Creighton's my favorite 6th seed. In KenPom, the last, 10 or so winners have been top 23 in offense. 23 in defense and top 40 in offense. Creighton fits that. They are going to pull off the upset. They got big bodies. Arizona is athletic, but they cannot guard Creighton.
And then to make the Final Four, Alabama versus Creighton. Alabama's just so strong this year. They've really just steamrolled their way through the SEC. They've been a really solid team. They kind of faced adversity earlier in the year with people not expecting them to be that incredible, but they've just been firing away on all cylinders. They've got incredible talent, probably the 3rd pick in the NBA draft on their team, and they're going to win this one. Now, stay with us. We've got some very exciting picks in the East. This is a little bit of a crazy region, so we're excited for this one.
I'll start off with Purdue versus any 16 seed, Purdue.
Next, we got Memphis FAU. Now, my issue with this matchup is these both are very underseeded teams. Both of these teams are incredible. Memphis just beat Houston. They're athletic. They're very good. FAU is unbelievable if you've been watching their games. They are super efficient at scoring. They're a very talented defensive team. I think both of these teams will make a Cinderella win. I think whichever team wins here, surprisingly, I think will pull off the upset against Purdue and perhaps even beat Duke. I think I'm going to take Memphis here just because I think the American Athletic Conference is more of a confirmed conference, and they've played teams like Houston before and like other teams in that conference like Tulane, Wichita State, and Tulane they just destroyed by like 40 points. So I'm going to go Memphis here.
Next, we got Duke versus Oral Roberts. And I'm sad to say Oral Roberts got screwed in the poll. They're playing a Duke team that has won the last 9 games. Oral Roberts, yes, they've probably won the last 20 games. And they have Max Asmus and Vanover, huge team. But sadly, they're playing the hottest team in the country, and they're going to lose.
Next, we got Tennessee versus Louisiana. I'm just going to go Tennessee here. I don't think they're going to get upset again. Last year, they were upset by Michigan, and that is not going to happen. They're coming back angry, and they're going to win this game.
Next, we got Kentucky versus Providence. And this is basically the exact opposite of the Duke versus Oral Roberts. Both these teams have had their struggles this year. Providence was a top 15 team at one point, but has lost the last, 4 games. 2 of them were at home. They don't look very good. Kentucky has Tshiebwe. They don't want last year to happen again. They're not going to get upset in the first round.
Next, we got Kansas State.
Next, we got MSU versus USC. Both teams are pretty solid this year. The Big Ten, every time they're the 7 seed. They've won the last 9 times as the 7 versus 10. I'm going to stick with past repeats itself. Go MSU.
And then we got Marquette, pretty straightforward.
Next, we got Purdue-Memphis. Probably my favorite 1 versus 8 or 9 matchup. Purdue has Zach Edey, of course. Everyone knows him. He's huge. He's going to be the player of the year. Memphis is super athletic. They can guard them. They can get the boards, box out Edey, score the ball really well. They're going to pull off the upset.
Next, we got Duke versus Tennessee. Tennessee's kind of been on a cold streak lately. They were underwhelming in the SEC tournament. Duke's been super hot. Duke is known for being a tournament team. They're going to make a run, and they're going to take down Tennessee.
Next, we got Kentucky versus Kansas State. Both teams solid. Both teams had their ups and downs. Both teams did horrible in their tournaments. Kansas State has players like Keontae Johnson, a great story. They also have Noel, one of the Big 12 Player of the Year, I think. Maybe not. He's really good. But they have no one to guard Tshiebwe. Kentucky is huge. They're angry. They're hungry. They're going to win.
Next, we got Michigan State versus Marquette. I think this is a very scary matchup for Marquette. Marquette's been hot. They just won the Big East. I honestly thought they were kind of frauds, and then I watched them in the Big East, and they kind of just cruised their way through. So they pulled off wins against UConn. They pulled off other wins along the way. But Michigan State in March with Tom Izzo they're not going to go out of this easily. I think it's going to be a very close game. I do think Marquette will win this, though.
Next, we got Memphis versus Duke, 2 of the hottest teams in the country, both super athletic. We got to go with talent on the team. Duke has more talent. They have a better coach, in my opinion, and they're going to win.
Next, we got Kentucky versus Marquette. Kentucky is mad. Kentucky lost last year first round. Their tournament hopes were gone. Tshiebwe wants to make it far in the tournament. I think Marquette plays a very defensive game, and I think Kentucky matches up very well and very nicely against them. I think they've got a very deep roster to combat Marquette's just play style. They play in a nice tempo, and I think Kentucky will pull this upset off.
Now, to finish out the East, we got Duke versus Kentucky. Blue blood battle. We love it. 2 amazing coaches. Each team has amazing size, amazing athleticism, but it's March. You go for the hottest team in March. You go for the ACC champions, the Duke Blue Devils.
All right, moving on to the right side of the bracket. In the Midwest region, Houston by 80. They're winning that game.
Next, we got Iowa versus Auburn. Honestly, in my opinion, I think Auburn is the better team, but I think Iowa is known for getting hot. Maybe not in March all the time, but they have shooters who will shoot at will. You can't guard them. Kinda Iowa.
Next, we got Miami versus Drake. Now, I love both these teams. Miami played great last year. They've got Isaiah Wong, a phenomenal scorer, arguably one of the best in the country, and Miami's a very solid team in the ACC. Now, Drake has been kind of in the projects the last couple of years. They have been building their team. They're all seniors now. Their starting point guard is the coach's son, and he's their best player. This is the definition of a March Madness team. They are veteran-led, and they have the coach's son as their player. They are great defensively, great offensively. They make the right decisions, and Drake's going to be a very scary team in March Madness this year.
Next, we got Indiana versus Kent State. I'm sorry, Kent State. You got screwed. If you played a team like Tennessee, not the best 4 seed, I would have put you over them. Indiana has one of the best players in the country, Trace Jackson Davis. They also have veteran and shooter help. Also, freshman Big Ten Player of the Year. Indiana's going to win.
Moving on, we got Iowa State versus either Mississippi State or Pittsburgh. I really don't like the 11 seeds this year. I don't think many of them have a shot. It's pretty well known that 11 versus 6 seeds is good in favor of the 11s recently, but this year I really wouldn't advise doing this. I think you really have to look at the individual basis, and the 11s this year are just not solid.
Next, we got Xavier versus Kennesaw State. In my opinion, Kennesaw State is just not very good. They had a good win over Liberty to get here, but Xavier has 5 scores in double digits. They have one of the best offenses in the league. They're going to win the game.
Next, we got Texas A&M, Penn State. Both made the finals of their conference tournament, and I hate having to make a decision here. Now, we've got Penn State, who's very hot in the Big Ten. They won a bunch. They really didn't need to win a bunch, and they still would have made the tournament most likely, but they've been hot. They're very talented, like with all their seniors. They're a veteran team, much like Drake. And then Texas A&M, they've been an incredible team in the SEC, very undervalued. Recently, they've kind of come to light. They've got a phenomenal defense in their backcourt led by Dexter Dennis and Rafford. Dexter Dennis is just an NBA-level defender, and I think Texas A&M will be good enough to win this game.
Next, we got Texas versus Colgate. If you out there want to do a 15-over-2 seed upset, this would be the one. Colgate is that team that can shoot the ball at an extreme level. They have the number 1 3-point percentage in the league. They have the number 2 2-point field goal percentage in the league. But the thing that scares me is that they shoot 65% from the free throw line. Texas's defense is way too good for this team. I love Colgate, but Texas is going to win.
So next, we got Iowa versus Houston. Earlier we mentioned with Baylor. Baylor does not have a top 100 defense. Neither does Iowa. And this keeps happening with Iowa. We see time and time again, Iowa does not have that elite defense that they need, or even a decent defense. And they lost to Richmond last year. They couldn't defend a bunch of players on Richmond, and they're not going to be able to defend Houston. They might be able to score. It's going to be a high-scoring game, but Houston's just such a tough team to beat. You need scrappiness, you need a defense, and Iowa does not have that.
Next, we got Drake versus Indiana. An amazing game filled with veterans, great coaches. Drake made the tournament 2 years ago, played in the play-in game, the other 11 seed, Wichita State. Great game. Sadly, that's all they did in the tournament. Nothing happened. They already beat a team with Miami who made the run the year before. And the Big Ten is known for being bad in March Madness. As much as I hate it, I love the Big Ten. They are not good in March Madness. Drake, with all their veterans, are going to win this game.
So next, we got Iowa State and Xavier. Now, both teams kind of a little iffy here and there. Iowa State is just a very scrappy team. They force a lot of turnovers. They turn the ball over a lot. This is going to be a very messy game. Xavier, who knows what Xavier team is going to show up? Either the Xavier team that beat Creighton by 20 is going to show up, or the Xavier team that lost to Marquette and shot like 25% from three and was just atrocious looking. I'm taking Xavier. It's just more of a safe pick, but this game really could go either way. It's going to be messy.
Next, we got Texas A&M versus Texas. My favorite 7-2 matchup. Either team could win this game. It really comes down to guard talent. And yes, Texas has Marcus Carr, but Texas A&M has the best defender in the nation. Not actually, but he's really good. Dexter Dennis can lock down any guard. They are hot. They just beat Alabama, which they then later lost to. But the win is great. They're going to beat Texas.
Next, we got Houston, Drake. Drake, great run in this tournament. I honestly, if there's a case to be made for knocking off Houston here, this would be the case, but I don't think they're going to be able to. Houston's mad after that Memphis loss, and I don't think they're going to shoot the ball nearly as bad as they did against Memphis.
Next, we got Xavier versus Texas A&M. Xavier has that three-point ability, or that scoring ability, that shooting ability. They could get hot in March, but will they? I'm not sure about it. Yes, they got this far, but they've had one of the easiest roads to get here. Texas A&M went through the best 10 seed, a top 2 seed. They're playing really well, and they win this game.
Next, we got Houston, Texas A&M. You know what? I actually don't think this is going to be really close. I think the top of the bracket is significantly better than the lower half. I think Texas A&M had a nice matchup against Xavier, who's kind of an iffy team. I think Texas is an iffy team this year, especially in tournaments, and I think Houston's going to take care of business quite easily.
I don't know about easily. Next, we got Kansas versus Howard. If you were to pick a 16 over 1 seed, pick Howard. If you're crazy enough to do it, but probably don't do it. So Kansas.
Next, we got Arkansas, Illinois. Arkansas matches up great against Illinois. Honestly, I think Arkansas will win this game, but I cannot bet against Illinois. Illinois will win this game, and for no reason, but they're going to win. Sorry, we're a little bit of Illinois fans, if you couldn't tell.
Next, we got St. Mary's versus VCU. This one you can go back and forth with. It's a really tough game. VCU hasn't played any ranked opponents, but St. Mary's is also in not the best conference. So they both play some equal value, but I think VCU's defense is going to withstand St. Mary's offense, especially if St. Mary's plays how they did in the WCC championship.
So moving on, we got UConn, Iona. Iona, I really feel bad for that they're playing against UConn. UConn's such a talented team this year. They're one of those KenPom teams that could win it all based off the statistics. Iona, led by Rick Pitino, incredible. If there's a coach who's going to take down UConn this early, it's going to be Iona. But honestly, I just don't think they got the right seeding, and I think UConn's going to win this.
Next, we got TCU versus Arizona State or Nevada. I'm not sure who's going to win that game, but TCU will beat either one of them. Like we said, the 11 seeds are not great this year, and TCU knows how to win in March.
Give me Gonzaga.
We said earlier, Northwestern. The Big Ten is great at being the 7 seed versus the 10 seed, and the Mountain West is not good in March. Let's go Northwestern.
UCLA, UNC Asheville. UNC Asheville, actually a pretty talented team. They've got one player who's just incredible, but I think UCLA has the talent to stop him in Jaime Jaquez.
Next, we got Kansas versus Illinois. If Illinois plays well, they have the talent to beat Kansas, but usually they don't play well in March. So, Kansas, defending champions, yes, they're great. They have great players like Grady Dick and Wilson. They're going to win.
Next, we got VCU versus UConn, a great game. Very good defensive team in VCU. I think they're top 20 in the nation. UConn, on the other hand, is just so statistically solid. They're sound. Earlier in the year, they were a top team, and they kind of dropped a little bit. They've been playing phenomenal recently. I think this team is the best team in the Big East. I think they're better than Marquette. I don't think they should have lost that. It was a ridiculous charging call. They honestly got rigged. I'm still mad about it, but yeah, UConn's going to win this one.
Next, we got TCU versus Gonzaga. Like we said earlier, TCU is a great March Madness team, but Gonzaga also knows how to win games March Madness. This is the best offense they've had in recent years. They have their player that's been there for the last 3 years, Drew Timme. He's going to take over this game, dunk on everyone, win the game.
Next, we got Northwestern versus UCLA. Congrats, Northwestern. You made the round of 32. You can't play in close games. You lost to Penn State in overtime. The week before, you lost to Penn State in overtime. You lost to Illinois about a week before that. You got killed by Maryland. You just do not have it enough in March. You do not have that March talent to beat UCLA.
Next, we got Kansas versus UConn. Kansas is my least favorite one state. Usually, there's only been one team that goes back-to-back in national championships, and UConn is a team to stop them. They have a top 20 defense, a top 20 offense. They're very good. Like we said, best in the Big East. They're going to win the game.
Next, we got the Zags versus UCLA. You asked me this a week or two ago. I'm telling you, UCLA for sure. They might have been a 1 seed a week or two ago. Now you've got the Zags. They won the West Coast. They destroyed St. Mary's. They looked phenomenal. They're finally piecing together like the number 1 team in the country. Everyone thought they were at the beginning of the year. And now you've got UCLA, whose third best player is injured. So this is kind of more of a toss-up. It's really close. And I think the Zags, with their March experience, is going to win this game.
Next we got UConn versus Gonzaga. Gonzaga, in the KenPom ranking, is outside of the top 75 in defense. You cannot expect to win this many games without a top 50 defense. UConn, top 20 defensively. I think they're going to win this convincingly and showing that they're the best team in the West Division.
So now we've got our Final Four set. If you stuck with us this long, please remember to drop a comment down below of what you think we messed up on or what you think we got right. Tell us your picks. Maybe drop a sub. Thank you guys so much for watching. So let's get into this Final Four. We got Duke and Alabama. Now this is an incredible game. Duke has a first-year head coach, though, and they have no first-year head coaches ever won the entire tournament. Now you've got Alabama, who is a very kind of freshman-led team, so there's some question marks around that team. Their best players are freshmen. They shoot the ball 3 points a lot, and that can be great in March, or that can kill you in March if you're not hitting them. And I think Alabama's going to win this game, but I think both these teams kind of have some question marks at this point.
On the other side, we got Houston versus UConn. 2 top defenses, 2 great offenses. But you know how to beat Houston? Crash the boards hard, and you be super athletic. And UConn is exactly that. Their junior forward and their sophomore guards are insanely athletic. They always crash the board. They're a big team, big enough to withstand Houston, and they're going to take them down.
So now we got our final set. We got Alabama and we got UConn. UConn, coming into the Big East tournament, was one of the hottest teams in the nation. They destroyed Providence. They destroyed St. John's. They destroyed Villanova. They took care of business at Providence like they needed to. And then they got cheated against Marquette in one of the worst officiated games I have ever witnessed in my entire life. You've got Alabama, who is a very solid team, SEC. They're champions. They're very solid. They have the best player in probably all of college basketball right now. They're freshman-led, though, and I think they're going to choke. I think UConn, as this 4 seed, could easily make the case to win this game, and I think either way you go, you can't be wrong, and I think it's a more fun bracket to take UConn here. So what we're going to do is we're taking UConn to win this game. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please drop a comment, a like, or anything down below. We love it and hope you guys get this right.